Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving Shorty. And after previously mentioning a love of retro futurism in a previous review, I felt like, yeah, now would be a good time to review Grit and Gears. It's from Blood Moon Comics. Not a huge company. We get a couple of things in from them. But I like trying out new things, and I'm always happy to give something a go. This isn't technically a brand new idea, though. I mean, steampunks and westerns, yeah, it seems to be a thing which used to work. Not everyone gets the timing on this one. Most people, when they think of steampunk, think of Victoriana, upper-class people making amazing contraptions in Victorian London. However, pretty much the same time period was the Wild West. The 1870s and 80s was, yeah, 100% that same time period. So it does make sense, and it also means you get a bit more of a down-to-earth, gritty kind of vibe to it. The colour palette changes. It's not quite the sepia-toned brasses, but you do still get like deep sunset colours. You get a bit more rust involved in the metals going on there, and the colours that people wear, not quite the garish kind of Victorian stuff, but still with depth of colour. And it is this kind of stuff I want to talk about in terms of artwork, because I like almost everything about it. There's some odd choices in colouring, but I find that actually works really quite nicely in terms of showing like how different POV would have a different lighting setup. When we've got like cuts backwards and forwards in a sequence, it works effectively. It jarred a little bit at first until I realised that we are literally having two separate kind of scenes going on here, so having different lighting works. There was one moment which was frustrating though. I'm not going to deny this one. This page here. Now, it looks like everyone's facing in the same direction there, even though one of the people on stage and the people are looking at them. It's not until you realise that that's a little bit of guttering there that you think, oh, okay, that's just a different panel. Okay. This page here, that top panel, they're looking at him and he's got his back to them, and I thought, well, hang on, there's no guttering there. That doesn't look like it's a separate panel. It just looks like it's badly laid out page design, or at least the panel design. Now, it's not the end of the world, it's not a terrible thing that happens, but it was a little bit off-putting. Now, thankfully, it's the only time the entire comic book had a problem with the artwork. There's some really nice moments in there. When we get to some violence and brutality, it doesn't shy away from it, but it also doesn't glorify it. This isn't a blood-drenched horror western. It is just a western where violence happens. Sometimes it happens even off-screen. We get gunshots and go back to a room with bodies lying, but the way that it's angled, you mostly see it from a point of view where you just see that there are bodies, that you don't see the kind of damage done. Pretty much the only really nasty, gruesome violence is people getting their arms ripped off, which I feel is like a connective bit of tissue between some story elements here. But when it comes to the story, that little bit of it is fine, but I was expecting something different. When we're talking about steampunk things in the Victorian era, we can look at things like, well, this is the retrofuturism idea, obviously, but also the idea of over-reliance on technology. Because we have one of these robots, Ranger 1, being a law enforcement officer, and there's other robot law enforcement officers, we could be looking at the idea of good cop, bad cop, a whole ACAB kind of thing going on there. But also, we could just be looking at Robocop, this idea of militarization of police, and mechanization of police, in fact. There's all these little aspects you can do within steampunk, again with the time period, looking at issues with class and capitalism. None of that really seems to be the primary focus, though. Because we have, from the very get-go, this idea that the automaton Ranger 1 is hated. And through the storyline as we experience it, we find out that he wasn't always hated, but then some automaton law enforcement go in a different direction. They move away from their programming, they are not 3-law safe, and they actually just see humanity as being the thing that does crime. Like, the only things that ever do crime are humans, so why not just get rid of humans? But it's not all of them that do that. There's like a definite divide between people, the robots who stay with their programming, who want to be good, and ones who just realise that let's just get rid of humanity. This could have been like just a danger of AI story, but I don't think it is. Because we also have this idea that there's a child who looks like they have, I don't know if it's a child or an automaton or somebody with cybernetic replacements, but this is the idea that they're not safe because they look like they might be an automaton. And the automaton definitely not safe. Literally got run out of town with guns firing at them. And I think this is more a racism story. And I know I'm smiling when I say this, I shouldn't be smiling when I talk about racism, but I like that they're doing it in a Western setting. Because there's writing done over how many people of color, Latinx, Hispanics, even Chinese, Japanese were around at the time period, and there's how it's portrayed in media compared to the actual history, then revisionist and post-revisionist, and these entire stories I can get into and do an entire 10-minute long video about this kind of thing. Instead, I'm just going to say it's nice that I feel like with all the options they had to do a story in the Wild West involving retro-futurist technology, they did this one. I think it's one that is worth doing. It's really well written. I like the characters. They have modes of speaking which put me into the time and place really effectively. And there's a lot going on we don't get. Like the daughter, the young girl, we don't know entirely what's going on with her. We don't know what happens at the end. If Ranger 1 getting his arm torn off was just a coincidence, or if it's to do with the fact that earlier on a priest got their arm torn off by a different automaton. There's enough little threads of story there that even if, yes, I see this as a racism analogy, there could be a whole lot more going on, and it's tempting me to carry on doing it. It's reeling me in effectively. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully if you get a chance to read it, you will too. That's it for me for now, though. I have gone over a little bit today. I'll be back tomorrow with another review. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!